The global automotive landscape is shifting faster than ever before. Electric vehicles once represented the pinnacle of modern innovation, but now, a new player threatens to rewrite the rules entirely. His name is Maxwell Chikumbutso. And his creation? A self-powered electric vehicle that could eliminate the need for charging forever. For years, the world has depended on lithium-ion batteries, fast charging stations, and limited driving ranges. But Maxwell's invention dares to ask a question most engineers were too afraid to. What if an electric car could power itself, indefinitely? Now, reports are emerging that Germany, the engineering capital of Europe, is quietly making moves behind the scenes. Meetings, licensing discussions, technical evaluations, it's all happening in near secrecy. Why? Because the implications of this technology are earth-shattering. Imagine the country that gave us Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Porsche, and Audi realizing that the future of their industry might depend on one man's self-powered invention from Africa. That realization has triggered something rarely seen: desperation mixed with fascination. Sources claim that German engineers are now analyzing Maxwell's prototypes, dissecting the energy systems, and running complex simulations to understand what makes this machine defy conventional physics. It doesn't just recharge through solar panels. It doesn't rely on external charging infrastructure. Instead, it reportedly generates its own continuous power, converting ambient energy and electromagnetic fields into usable electricity on the go. If true, this is not just evolution, it's a revolution. Germany knows what's at stake. Their auto industry employs millions, exports to the entire world, and has built its reputation on precision and reliability. But what happens if a new technology renders their electric platforms obsolete overnight? Inside boardrooms in Stuttgart, Munich, and Wolfsburg, there's panic. Quiet panic. Executives know that Tesla's dominance was already a warning shot, but Maxwell's innovation could be the full strike. The question is no longer whether the self-powered EV works, but who will control it. Germany is not alone in this race. Rumors suggest that tech delegations from Japan, China, and the United States are also circling, eager to understand the energy generator that never runs out. But Germany, with its deep roots in engineering excellence, is fighting to be first, to secure the rights, the patents, the manufacturing processes. Because if they don't, someone else will. Imagine what happens if this technology lands in Chinese factories, mass-produced at lightning speed, integrated into fleets of affordable vehicles. Europe's entire EV strategy could collapse before 2030. And that's why, for the first time in decades, German automakers are not leading, they are chasing. The irony? For years, African innovators were overlooked by global corporations. But now, the tables have turned. The innovation Germany desperately wants was born not in Berlin, not in Stuttgart, but in Africa, in the mind of a man who refused to wait for permission to invent the impossible. Maxwell's vision was simple: energy independence. A vehicle that doesn't need oil, charging stations, or power grids. One that could free entire regions from energy dependency. When early demonstrations of his self-powered car surfaced online, they were met with disbelief. Engineers called it impossible, unprovable, even fake. But as evidence grew, and private demonstrations reached global scientists, curiosity replaced skepticism. Now, as prototypes undergo independent evaluation in labs across Europe, whispers are spreading that it might actually work. And Germany, of all nations, can't afford to be left behind. Because if this technology proves real, it could also power homes, factories, and entire cities, using nothing but the air and electromagnetic fields around us. Imagine highways without charging stations, cities without power grids, and a world where your car is its own generator. It sounds like science fiction, but it might just be science fact. Behind closed doors, German negotiators are reportedly preparing multi-million euro offers for limited licensing rights. The goal? To test, refine, and integrate the system into their luxury EV lines. But there's a problem: Maxwell isn't selling. He's cautious, protective of his invention, aware of how easily large corporations can swallow independent innovators whole. His vision isn't just to make cars self-powered, it's to make people self-reliant. That idea alone terrifies traditional industries. Because what happens to an entire global economy built on fuel, batteries, and charging infrastructure if one technology makes them irrelevant? Germany understands this better than anyone. Their economy thrives on exporting automotive technology. And that's why they are desperate, not out of greed, but out of survival instinct. They see what's coming. They see a new chapter in the story of transportation, a world where energy doesn't come from stations, but from systems built into the vehicles themselves. And so, the race continues. A race not between brands, but between nations. The future may no longer belong to those who build faster engines or prettier cars, but to those who master limitless power. And right now all eyes are on one man. Maxwell Chikumbutso. His invention could redefine mobility, rewrite energy economics, and reshape the destiny of nations. Germany is moving fast. But can they move fast enough? Or will history remember that the world's next great leap didn't come from the industrial titans of Europe but from the visionary minds of Africa? The answer is still unfolding. But one thing is certain, the self-powered revolution has already begun. In a quiet industrial park on the outskirts of Munich, a team of engineers works under strict confidentiality. No press, no leaks, no visitors. Inside, the prototype sits covered under a black tarp, sleek, silent, and mysterious. The moment they uncover it, there's a subtle tension in the air. The engineers, some of the best minds in automotive design, are face to face with a machine that seems to mock everything they've ever learned. They run diagnostics, measure electromagnetic output, and track energy flow. What they see doesn't make sense. The power readings stay stable even with no external input. One of them whispers, "If this is real, it changes everything." The chief engineer just nods, eyes locked on the data. Germany isn't just trying to license a car. They're trying to understand how it's possible. Meanwhile, in South Africa, Maxwell stays grounded. No lavish lifestyle, no corporate office, just a simple lab filled with prototypes, cables, and equations scribbled on the walls. He's been approached by investors before many times. But this time it's different. The offers are bigger, the tone more urgent. Some want to buy his idea outright. Others offer him positions in global research labs. But Maxwell knows what that means. Once he signs, he loses control. He remembers what happened to other inventors, those whose creations disappeared into corporate vaults, never to be seen again. That won't be his story. The Germans know they can't force this deal. They must persuade him. Convince him that partnership, not ownership, will benefit both sides. But how do you convince a man whose dream isn't money but freedom? In Berlin, politicians are quietly briefed. The potential applications extend beyond transportation. Imagine military vehicles that never refuel. Power grids that feed from self-sustaining sources. The first closed-loop demonstration in Germany is scheduled for later this year. If it succeeds, it'll mark the moment history turns. Every automaker will have to rethink its future. Electric charging stations gone. Battery factories obsolete. Oil refineries irrelevant. In that moment, the world would no longer revolve around resource control, but knowledge control. Whoever understands Maxwell's system will control the next era of human civilization. And Germany, for all its industrial power, knows this is the last chance to stay ahead. Back in Africa, however, something even more unexpected happens. Independent researchers begin replicating fragments of Maxwell's design. Small experiments. Energy circuits that pulse endlessly without external input. Some fail. Some work partially. But the curiosity has spread like wildfire. Online forums, open source groups, and engineering collectives start discussing what they call the Maxwell effect. The idea that the future of clean energy doesn't belong to corporations, it belongs to everyone. And that terrifies the old world. Because if people can power their homes, vehicles, and cities without centralized control, the energy economy collapses. Billions in profits. Decades of dependency. Gone. In Germany's underground labs, the prototype hums softly, as if alive. The engineers can't explain how it works. They only know that it does. Every few minutes, they check the readings. Still stable. Still impossible. In a private report sent to the German Automotive Council, one line stands out. If proven viable, this system will not only disrupt the EV market, it will end it. Outside, the night sky glows faintly with industrial lights. But deep inside the lab, one small machine whispers of a different kind of future, one that runs forever. And somewhere across the ocean, Maxwell looks up at the same night sky, knowing the world is finally catching up to something he discovered years ago. The question now isn't whether Germany will get the license. The question is whether the world is ready for a car that never stops. News of Germany's secret tests begins to leak. At first, just whispers in online forums, a few cryptic patents, a strange spike in research budgets from major automakers. Then, the story breaks, headlines explode across the internet. Germany testing Africa's self-powered EV technology. A car that never charges, is it real? The end of fuel and charging stations? Social media erupts. Some call it a hoax, others call it humanity's turning point. But one thing is certain, everyone is talking about Maxwell's car. In cities across the world, curiosity turns to frenzy. Universities announce emergency seminars. Energy companies hold emergency meetings. Governments scramble to understand the threat. Because this isn't just about cars anymore, it's about control. Germany's automotive giants face a paradox. They want to embrace this technology, but doing so would dismantle their entire supply chain. Billions invested in battery research, lithium mining, and charging infrastructure would vanish overnight. The very thing that could save their industry might also destroy it. But the truth can't be hidden forever. Footage leaks from inside a German testing facility, a short clip of the prototype driving for hours. Lights on, systems running, no plug, no sound of charging. The video spreads globally in minutes. The reaction is instant. Stock markets tremble. Oil futures dip sharply. EV battery companies lose billions in hours. And somewhere, far from the chaos, Maxwell just watches silently. He always knew this day would come, the day the world would have to face the truth. Energy was never the problem. Control was. Germany sends another delegation, this time not to negotiate for patents but for partnership. They offer shared development, open research, and joint innovation centers across Africa and Europe. They realize something profound. The future of technology won't come from domination, but from collaboration. And for the first time, the power dynamic shifts. African innovation stands on equal footing with European engineering. The teacher becomes the student. The old world learns from the new. Maxwell agrees to collaborate, but on one condition. The technology must remain open, accessible, free from monopolies or political control. Germany, driven by both pride and pragmatism, agrees. And so begins a new era, not just of transportation, but of philosophy. Cars that charge themselves. Homes powered by ambient energy. Cities built on sustainability, not extraction. The transformation is slow at first. But as more nations adopt the system, humanity crosses a threshold, the end of the fossil age, the end of dependence. In Berlin, a monument is unveiled years later. It's not dedicated to a company or a nation, but to the idea of limitless energy and the man who made it possible. An inscription reads, "To those who believed in the impossible and made it inevitable." And as the camera pans out over a world filled with self-powered machines, glowing silently under the stars, one truth becomes undeniable. The revolution didn't come from a boardroom. It came from a dreamer who refused to stop. Germany got what it wanted, but the world got something greater. Freedom. Energy without borders. Technology without limits. A future that powers itself. The story of Maxwell's self-powered EV isn't just about a car. It's about humanity finally realizing that the greatest source of power was never oil, electricity, or money, but imagination. And as the hum of self-powered engines fills the air, one era ends and another begins. A world reborn, limitless, silent, unstoppable.